And the checkered flag has fallen. Welcome to the Pitwall, your stop for fantasy Formula One content. What a race. Before we went live, Dominick and Dad were already talking about Ferrari versus Red Bull. Dad's got his Red Bull swag. Share it with us, Dad. How did you feel with this?
Well, I like that Red Bull did as well as they did. I don't like it when my competition gets knocked out. You know, I was not happy when Sainz got out. I would have rather seen Perez and Sainz fight it on track. And then to see what happened with Leclerc, I'll leave that to Dominick to make a comment since that's his favorite team.
Okay, saying hi. There's Need Staff in the chat. What we'll do, chat, is if you want to stop by, say hi. I will give you the shout out. If you have comments on what we're talking about, then I'll do that. If you have any questions, we're going to save that for the last 10 minutes of this 1 hour live stream. And the reason why we're doing that is to keep the flow going. A lot of you may have questions, but like I said, we will field those at the end. Hello, Dark Knight. How you doing? Okay, bro, from the Ferrari perspective, how are you feeling?
So, as I had a little bit of time to think about and reflect on the race that I just witnessed, my thoughts were pretty much summed up as outside of a double DNF, this is about as bad of a race as you could have asked for, especially considering that this was kind of a home race for us. So, man, it was a mess.
I can tell you, though, I was all in on Ferrari as far as my fantasy team. I have them as my constructor. On one of my teams, Mega Leclerc and turboed Sainz, and didn't work out for me this week.
Yeah, I think it didn't work out for a lot of people this week. I have a feeling that a lot of us did not make it on any type of orc points this week.
But I do feel your pain in that way anyways.
Well, let's take that over then to the spreadsheet to see how it did. Hello, Xander. And hello, Rokas. Of course, Xander goes by Flicky in the racing community vid. Hello. But let's zoom on in. Oh, this is going to block our view. There we go. Boom. There we go. So, as we see, Verstappen got 62 points. He also had the fastest lap. But like you said with Ferrari, they're nowhere. Red Bull scored 99 points as a constructor this race for fantasy. That's how dominant they were. And I don't think any of us were anticipating how they were going to do with all the wet conditions. Now, here's the crazy thing. McLaren in second got 41 points. That's how important it is to have a good constructor, because that is 50-something points that you can't make up with a driver combo, especially if two of your guys are making mistakes. But, Hey, Michael. Oh, yes, Dad.
Since we're talking McLaren, we already talked Ferrari and Red Bull. I guess Ricciardo's strategy at the end to put on hards instead of mediums kind of backfired.
It did
Norris
not.
did a great job. Norris did a great job. Coming on the podium. I was proud of Norris.
McLaren swag. You can't quite see it. Let me switch over my other camera. There we go. Now some McLaren swag. Oh wait, my microphone's in the way. McLaren swag. Okay, there we go. Michael says, hi guys. Thanks that there's no mega for Charles and turbos for Sainz. Yeah, guys, I admit I did that. I should have just waited. My strategy for my team number one is always to do the most long-term thing, but because I committed to the money day trading and the wild cards, I made a mistake there at the end. And it looks like if you're going to use your Mega Driver or Turbo next week, Leclerc is up for his power streak. So there you go. I know a lot of people were trying to figure out about not trying the Turbo Sainz of Perez, but actually Mega Drive Verstappen so you can continue turboing Leclerc. Well, now that it seems like reliability is hopefully being solved for Red Bull, then that strategy is going to come out. JG says, hi, thanks for coming on live. Would love to see how you're playing the juggle streaks. Yes, that's something we're going to have to be discussing over our next couple podcasts. Michael says, is everyone... Oh, that's a question. That is a question. We're going to save that to the end. If chat wants to answer his question, you can. But like I said, we'll answer all questions at the end. Let's kick it back to our main. Okay, Dad. Dominic, we've kind of done the initial emotions, but now it's time for our pit point. Describing the race in a pit stop time or less. Okay? Go, Dad.
Progressively wonderful.
Progressively wonderful. Okay, so what were your emotions then when they were getting into qualifying in the sprint? I guess Verstappen was on top, so you didn't have anything to sweat, right?
Well, I did, because Leclerc got a better sprint start, and he was ahead most of the sprint race until I think the last 1 or 2 laps, when Verstappen somehow was able to pass him and was able to become pole on the actual race. So, and the race, Verstappen didn't spin his tires like he did in sprint, and so he got a good start, and so did Perez, and that was really a good start for the Red Bulls.
And then it only got better from there.
Stayed about the same.
Okay, bro, your pit point.
This was a bookends nightmare. Bookends from start of the race, end of the race, just nightmare, man. The rest of the middle of the book was pretty okay, but unfortunately, you have to cliff notes it at the beginning and end, and it was not great.
How do they say it's not how you wait, yeah, how does it go? It's how you start and how you finish. And like you said, the start and the finish. This is 2 races in a row in which Sainz has a lap 1 DNF. And it's not even because his car's failing him. First race, he had hards. It wasn't really working well. And he spun trying to attack a car in front. And then this one, he got tagged behind by Ricciardo. And like you said, Dad, Ricciardo was dropped to the back. He didn't DNF, but it was effectively a DNF. I think once he got to the hards, he was able to get some positions. But yeah, it was nowhere. Of course, chat, you can include with us your pit points. My pit point would be midfield power. Midfield power. Did you guys see Tsunoda just sneaking his way up through the pack? Everyone else's tires were wearing away like his. I don't know where he was getting all that extra speed. Gasly keeping Hamilton behind virtually the entire race. Actually, I want to kick this over. The Twitter. I put this, Dad and Dominick, in the thread under live stream, so you can see what this tweet is about. Okay, here we go. Shout out to Racing Statistics. Albon kept Gasly and Hamilton behind without DRS. Like the entire race, he just kept them behind. That's how powerful it is when you've got a downforce setup and cars behind, even though they could follow even closer, cannot make the move on you. How did you guys feel about the performance of those midfield pack and keeping some of the other guys behind?
Well, at the beginning of the race, well, not at the beginning, but partway through the race, I remember the announcers were talking about DRS. Hey, when's DRS going to happen? When's the DRS going to come on? Hey, why can't we talk to the guy no more and ask for DRS? Remember, it was getting annoying. It was a thing they were definitely talking about a lot.
It wasn't rain, it was DRS. It was getting out of hand.
Yeah, and then we finally get DRS, and I mean, we didn't even get the passing that, we were expecting from the DRS, but the midfield was still fun to watch. I think perhaps for me, the most interesting thing was Botos, especially near the end. And I was wanting him to pass Russell so bad. Like, I don't have anything against Russell, but just to have that kind of storyline where Botas is like, wow, I actually might have traded to a better team. Or I'm on a move to a better team.
Yeah, that's actually what I posted on Twitter mid-race. I said, Dasim Botas versus Russell at Imola 2 years in a row. And then I did the traditions meme of Botas. So, yeah, here he is. He switches teams, and that was the play.
He also had an issue with them changing his tire like they did Mercedes. What's that? Why do they have trouble with Bottas's tires?
And that was almost 12 seconds at the end of the race when he was basically right on Russell, if he hadn't had that 12-second pit stop, there's a chance he might have actually been ahead of him.
Yeah, imagine if Botas had gotten on the podium.
Dude, that would be crazy.
That'd be crazy. Crazy indeed. Speaking of podiums, this was Red Bull's first 1-2 finish since 2016 Malaysia, and the second time in the turbo hybrid era, which started in 2014. How do you feel about that, Dad? All last year, they had the fight, but they couldn't ever get the 1-2. They could have done it Baku, but a tire blowout, and then here they are finally able to do it in the fourth race of this season.
I think that's great. I predicted that there would be at least a couple more 1-2s. I was thinking it was going to come with Ferrari and maybe Red Bull, and I'm glad it happened with Red Bull. And we'll see if my prediction comes true and at least happens one more time.
I guess it goes to show the difference for when you have the pressure of staying in the front or pressure of trying to chase the front. And we see Verstappen's DNFs. I wouldn't say that it was because of his error, but as you've pointed out, Dad, in the podcast, when you are trying to drive to the limit of your car, you're more likely to stress it out. And we see here that Leclerc, this time around, instead of being in control and in front, he was trying to make the fine adjustments and find the limit of his car. He hit that curb, like straight over the curb, and it spun him out. And that blows the championship wide open. I believe, actually, let me pull this up. I don't think they've updated yet on Twitter the standings, but I'll look for it.
After the race, he was making a comment. He said, I got too greedy, and it cost me 7 points.
True.
And
well, remember mid-race when he said, hey, can we go to plan D? And they said, no, stay out. He must have been on the radio more than that because they didn't broadcast it, but you don't just pit without your team knowing, right? So he kept telling the team, I want to pit. And it almost worked, actually, right? He got in the DRS of Perez, and he could have made that stick, and that would not have only been the fastest lap, but he also would have gotten P2. And like you said, he was getting a little greedy. He was chasing too much, and then the moment came where he slipped. Okay, I'm not seeing the driver standings, but I am seeing this cool graphic by Racing Statistics. If you want to follow them on Twitter, they got a really good channel. Let's kick it over to the Racing Statistics. Actually, I'll paste this for you guys to see what we're looking at as well. Racing Statistics. Okay, so F1 hasn't released their standings yet, but we see that Leclerc sits at 86 points with Verstappen at 59, and we see Ferrari just edging out Red Bull. Red Bull is clearly within striking distance. How do you guys feel with this? Now, does it seem like the advantage is to Red Bull because it seems that they've got the car package? Or do you think this is just down to the fact that Sainz was having those 2-lap incidents, and once he's back in the game, Ferrari can hold them off?
I definitely would say that Sainz not finishing the last 2 races kind of cancels out what's happened to Red Bull in the first couple of races. So these points, if it wasn't for all of that stuff, this is very similar to what I would expect. But both teams would have more points, right? Like, it would still be close, but with higher point totals if they'd all, not had any trouble at all.
So going into this race, if Verstappen had not DNF'd twice, he would have been 10 points behind. And okay, let's do the math. So he would have gotten 26 points, and then Leclerc finished what, 6th? Yeah, let me kick this over to, let's double check that the main page, no, the web. Yeah. Let's make sure
I like what Leclerc said at the end. He was saying that when they asked if he thought Red Bull made an advance towards them, he says there's so many variables, but I think it's going to be a battle between our two teams the rest of the season. So he's not conceding that Red Bull's made much stride, but he's looking forward to battling them the rest of the season. So I thought that was cool.
Why am I the black backs not? Oh, it's because I'm doing studio mode. Okay, that's fascinating. So when you do studio mode,
I do think it was interesting to see Russell being the 4th driver. I'm not convinced yet that he's probably worth the increased price versus Sainz. But it is interesting that he's ahead of Sainz in the points.
Yeah, I think when it comes down to fantasy, Russell is not worth it points wise, but he is consistent. But like you said, when Perez is going to be staying up there, then he should be fine. Okay, so here's the crazy thing: Verstappen outscored Leclerc by 18 points this race, which means that if Verstappen had not DNF'd the first 2 races, he came into this race with a 10-point deficit. He would be leading by 8 points.
Yeah, that's live sports. There's a lot of ifs.
Yeah, a lot of ifs, ands, buts. Actually, I texted you guys about this. Okay.
I was just pretty impressed that Leclerc got out of that spin and was able to rejoin instead of getting no points. He at least got some points.
Yeah, when I saw him spin, I was like, "Am I getting my double DNF?" But no, thankfully he was able to literally turn it around, make up a couple places.
Turn it around. Okay, chat, you let us know. What are your thoughts about this battle between Red Bull and Ferrari? Is Red Bull going to be clawing it back quicker and quicker, or is Ferrari going to stop making mistakes and start edging out the lead again?
I will say, though, for everything that happened to Red Bull, or not Red Bull, Red Bull did fine. They don't care about nothing right now. But for what happened to Ferrari, I'm glad that the damage seemed not too bad on either case. Like, yeah, it's unfortunate that there is car damage, but nothing hopefully too expensive to fix.
Well, that's like Alonso. Did you guys see the damage he got in the first couple corners? Schumacher's rear left, I believe, hit his side pod and just ruined the floor, which meant that he couldn't get the suction down to the ground. It opened up the side, so the airflow is all compromised, and they eventually had to retire him. So like you said, Ferrari hasn't had major damage, but they did replace Sainz's engine because of last race. And then he got, a sprint race and 1 lap into this race. So it's going to be interesting to see how the reliability of the Ferrari continue on. JG says, money is on Red Bull for Constructors Champs right now. Yeah, it goes to show that as good as Ferrari was, that Red Bull has fixed the reliability. And Verstappen goes to show that when he has the car, he's going to be winning races. Well, then how do you then outscore him? Well, you got to be outscoring the second guy on the team. And if Sainz is not doing that, then Perez is going to just be getting free points, right? Perez DNF'd once, so that means Sainz getting the second position at Bahrain would have got 18 points on Perez. But now Sainz is DNF'd twice, and Perez has gotten 18 points this race, an additional amount of points last race. So yeah, it looks like Red Bull will be having it.
You know what the most unfortunate thing about the race, though, is that because Sainz got knocked out in the first thing, you completely forget how many places he made up in the sprint race, right? Like, if he had actually finished the race really high, I'd been pretty hyped, considering that, he actually had to put in work to even get into 4th place to start the race, so.
True. Like, that sprint race, actually, let's dive into that, because for those watching, here's the full history of the sprint race. The sprint race wasn't necessarily just to generate views on the Saturday. It was also to serve a technological function. Ross Brawn wanted to introduce the sprint race to force teams to have to design cars that could follow each other, because originally the sprint race was going to be reverse grid. They didn't like that, so then they went back and they no longer did reverse grid. So this is why people online are like, well, what's the point of sprint race? It just allows the better teams that got caught out during qualifying to just get all their positions back. And that's true, but you still have to fight for it and you still have to pass. And so getting cars out of position does give some drama during the sprint. As other people point out, it's almost like having 30% more of the race with a huge red flag overnight. And so I can understand people's opinions about that. But like, for example, Haas. Why did Haas put on mediums for the sprint race? Like Magnussen lost positions. He just kept losing positions over the course of the weekend. Imagine if he at least kept his softs on and been able to be at least 2 positions higher. Then I think with the Leclerc spinning out and with the Sainz and Ricciardo getting knocked out, Magnussen would have been the guy up in the P5 or P4. And so I feel sorry that Haas just got their strategy wrong during the sprint. But Chad and Dad and Dominick, what are your thoughts about the sprint races, and especially this one being the first of 2022?
Happy that Verstappen didn't get knocked out like the first 2 sprint races. He won the sprint races and then got knocked out in the race. So I was happy that didn't happen this time.
So it's the sprint race weekend curse, right? The championship leader has a big problem each sprint race weekend. Verstappen got it twice. Leclerc got it this time. What about you, bro? What are your thoughts about the sprints?
I don't have any issue with them. I think they're fun. I think they're fine. A little disappointed that Leclerc got passed up. I don't know how much of a difference that would have made in the race, because with the slow start, he probably would have gotten passed by Verstappen at the beginning of the race. Would Perez have passed him as well? I don't know. But if he had actually started the race in second instead of third, or not started, but like once the race got going, right? Actually, he was in fourth, wasn't he? Yeah, he might have actually ended up behind Perez as well,
so that's
if
the thing.
He had started in first.
If Leclerc had not got passed during the sprint, then he probably would have been able to hold off Verstappen. Did you see how hard it was for the cars to pass each other at the beginning of the race in the wet? And he clearly was slower than Verstappen, but not too much slower. The reason why Verstappen was able to build such a big gap is because he had clean air. Now, if Verstappen was behind Leclerc, then I think what would have happened is Red Bull would have tried to do the undercut in the first round of pit stops. And we see that while you might have come out behind the other guy, you were able to have that lap to warm up your tires. And so he probably would have net been ahead. But as we saw with Leclerc and Perez, having slipstream would have come into play. So I'm not quite sure about how that all played out, but it would have been a lot closer, at least for the leaders. We've had 2 races now where the leader is kind of by themselves everywhere else. Now, what did you guys... Oh, yes, Dad.
Oh, I was just going to mention something else. It was strange to see, and I don't think I would have liked to see reverse grid. So to me, sprint is better, because to watch what happened to Hamilton and a few others, yeah, there are a few people who were able to pass several people. But, I think there would be more accidents and things like that if you have... that's why you have blue flags, right? Because you want back markers to get out of the way. So if you did reverse grid, I'm afraid you'd have more accidents.
I suppose, like last year, Hamilton did all that passing with an effective reverse grid in Brazil. But this year, the Mercedes isn't just 2 seconds faster than the rest of the field, right? And so this year, you have a lot of cars that get stuck in these DRS trains and stuff like that. And so if you were reverse grid, you probably would get stuck behind. I don't have the stats in front of me, but I wonder how many passes actually happened during the sprint. Because the sprint is just short enough that everybody can do no pit stops. And so if you don't pass somebody on the beginning of the race or in lap 1, it's going to be hard. Although I think they did have DRS because it was dry enough during the sprint. Whereas here at the beginning of the race, it wasn't dry at all. And so DRS was off for half the race. But yeah, what do you think, chat? Well, sprints, yay, nay, ambivalent towards it? The next sprint race is going to be at the Red Bull Ring, and then the last one will be in Interlagos.
So there's only 3? I thought they were planned 5.
Yeah, but then the teams were like, you're going to cost us more money with crashes and damage and engine wear. So then they went back to 3. JG says, reverse grid would result in a weird dynamic for the fastest. No incentive to be on pole at the top. At Ferrari, well, so that's an interesting thing, right? If you're trying to get pole position, but then you're going to be behind the other guy, yeah, so that could be tricky. So this is actually a discussion on an online racing league that I'm a part of. We have one of the leagues that we're thinking about putting in reverse grids for this coming season. And that's what I was talking about is there's really not enough incentive because in qualifying, you'll just let a guy by. Or if the reverse is actually for the race, then I will give up a position during the sprint to then be ahead in front of the guy. But as someone pointed out, though, okay, so you get a guaranteed point during the sprint, but you only lose one position for the race. But it's a long, long race. Now, it's different when you're playing video games where you have ideal weather or such compared to real life, right? And here we saw some passing, but would Verstappen have been able to pass 20 guys over the course of a sprint in a race? It might have been quite difficult. CE says sprints would really be good if instead of 21 laps, they would be around 30. So this is why I think Haas went to the mediums, because Haas thought the sauce would fall off. Well, they never did. Well, they did, but not enough, right? So all the time they lost at the beginning of the sprint, they weren't able to recoup at the end of the sprint. And so, yeah, that would be interesting if the sprints were a little bit longer. But at that point, you're just racing 2 races, right? Half distance and a full distance.
Well, the funny thing is, remember last year when we tried out these sprint races for the first time, we were saying that we should make the sprint races shorter. Remember that?
Oh, that's true. Yeah. Like I said, you had the Mercedes and these other cars that were just OP, and then they were pulling away or passing people left and right. Here's the other thing. This sprint race was the first time we had a lead change.
But that's what I was saying. One of the nice things about the sprint race, though, is that we got to see Verstappen get his place back, and with a shorter race, that might not have happened. We got to actually see the tires be a game changer for the sprint race, right?
True. I guess
Verstappen was playing Leclerc's tire game,
True. And on the other hand, right, we never saw a fight for the lead during the race, but we saw it during the sprint. So that'll be interesting to see if that'll play into the Red Bull Ring and to Brazil later down the road if we're also going to get that. Because I think the Ferrari, when Leclerc is driving at his best, and the Red Bull when Verstappen's driving at best, it's like last season with Hamilton and Verstappen. They're just good enough, but in different parts of the track, that it allows for them to be close and have some good fighting.
Speaking of the Red Bull Ring with the sprint race, we at Ferrari were very courteous to Red Bull and allowed them to have a nice time at our home. And so when it gets to the Red Bull Ring, I would very much like it if you guys would return the favor and maybe let us have a 1-2. If you guys decide that one of your drivers doesn't finish the race and Verstappen ends up in 6th or 7th or whatever, that'd be cool too,
The only way, though, is if you get inclement weather. Like, the only time that in the dry I saw problems at the Red Bull Ring was when Mercedes, was it 2018? Both Mercedes DNF because they overheated. But that's a Mercedes issue. That's not a Red Bull issue. And definitely not a Ferrari issue with cooling. But yes, that would be funny if the tables turned.
But we already did that. It wasn't a sprint race, but didn't you guys finish 1st and 2nd already this year?
Yeah, no thanks to you guys.
Really?
No, we gifted you a lot of stuff this weekend. Well, actually, no. Ricardo gifted you some stuff this weekend. And then Ferrari, and then Leclerc decided to spin out. So, although I guess you guys were already... Yeah, it's like, we need to bring back this Binala meme, dude.
So when you guys got 1st and 2nd, nothing happened to our 2 drivers. We just gave you 1st and 2nd.
No. We gave us 1st and 2nd. What you guys chose to do with your cars is none of our business. Okay. We earned those. We earned that 1-2.
Okay, so I have a question for you there. So I'm going to wear this every time we get on the one of my drivers gets on the podium. So my question is, how many times do you think in the next 18 races I'm going to wear this stuff?
For podium? Just podium? Dude, you're going to be wearing that every time.
Okay, so we'll go with winning. How many times if we wear this for winning, how many times do you think I'll wear it?
I still think it's a little too soon to say for sure. The problem is that I don't know for sure how Red Bull and Ferrari stack up against each other, right? There's been so many forces that aren't necessarily just because of their cars, right?
Okay.
So
Okay,
can't say for
chat.
sure.
Let's send this over to you. Dad says that he's going to wear that polo every time the Red Bull wins for the rest of the season, and he's not going to wash it. And then,
I didn't say that.
how many times do you guys think he's going to be wearing this polo for the rest of the season? So this is round 4, 22 for. So is that 18 more races?
Yeah, unless they add one for Russia, then it might be 19.
Rokas says 7 or 8 times. What do you think, Dad? Over, under? Do you think you're going to be wearing it more than 8 or less than 7?
Let's see. I'm going for 9.
9. CE says bold take. Only 4 or 5 more times.
That is a bold take.
What did Verstappen said? He needed a 45 race season to be able to catch up the deficit. Not if you're getting Leclerc to start dropping points like that.
See, here's the thing I need y'all to understand, though. My hot take is that it's going to be 3 more times because my man Botos still has to win this championship. And the only way he's going to do that if he starts winning every race from here on out. So
Jenks just says 5 more times. Okay. How about this then, Dad? If you're going to wear Red Bull, okay, bro, how many times do you think you're going to be wearing a Ferrari sweater if you wear that every time they win?
that sweater gets really freaking hot, dude. I love that sweater a lot, but man, wearing it while we're recording, I start feeling it, dude.
Oh, okay. No, you don't need to record it during
seconds.
You don't need to record. Yeah.
I was saying,
you can just wear it when we introduce ourselves and then take it off.
Do you not have a Ferrari polo? What did Mom get you for Christmas?
When I put on that Ferrari sweater, it stays on. It does not come off.
Bro, what you do is you tie it around your shoulders, like the Boy Scout way, right? You just.
But I already got the hat.
True. Okay. How many more times do you think?
It's only wear the hat when they win.
No. Donk looks good in hats.
I will wear this hat every race, no matter what happens.
Okay, let's put it this way: you wear it front way. You put it in the front when they win the race. How many times are you going to wear it front?
How about this?
0, because I always wear it in the back.
Yeah, look, Paola will wear her hat if they win. I know that for a fact. So how many times do you think Paola will be wearing her hat this season?
The problem, again, like going back to my previous thing, is I still don't know how these two cars stack up against each other. Was this mostly just because of the bad start, or like the weather? Or is the Red Bull finally got their car figured out? And thank you, CE.
Yeah, he's hoping that it's going to be 19 more times. Exactly.
I mean, like, I would be down with that. But again, I don't want to say something without fully knowing. I would like it to be higher. So, like, the person says 7 to 8. Well, maybe 7 and 8 for Ferrari. Like, maybe we'll just have a half and half down the season.
Okay. I wear this because I need to be warm during the race. Because it's like very early in the morning. Instead of wearing a blanket, I was like, I'm going to wear a long sleeve. I think Norris might, under the right rainy circumstances,
slide off the track and give up first place.
No, don't do me like that. Don't do Norris like that.
That was his decision.
Okay, who do you think is the first non-Mercedes or Red Bull team to win this season?
Mercedes.
Oh, sorry, Red Bull or Ferrari?
To say Ferrari, hopefully.
Sorry.
Like non-Mercedes or Red Bull, hopefully Ferrari.
Okay, hold on. Before we get there, do you think Mercedes will win a race this season?
Yes.
You think so? Okay, which track, Dad? Which track do you think Mercedes is going to win?
I'm not sure which track, but I think that Russell is getting more comfortable, and if he can get past the two, Perez and Sainz, and something just bad happens to Leclerc and Verstappen fighting in the front, he might just slide in there.
Maybe. Jinx asked a question. Like I told chat, we'll answer all your questions the last 10 minutes. So if it's a comment or such, then we will do that. But questions will hold to the end.
No worries, Jinx. I got your question written down, so we'll definitely address it.
So, Jeanmark, here's my question. Who do you think is more likely to win a race, Norris or Russell?
Dominick has been keep saying the same thing, so I'll quote him. It depends on the rest of the races. Look, they fixed the brakes on the McLaren, and the McLaren is better than Mercedes. This is why Mercedes didn't want McLaren to have a Mercedes engine in it. This is why they had the disastrous time with Honda, because Mercedes knows that McLaren is able to do better aero design than Mercedes. And having the same engine, McLaren's going to do better. We saw last year that McLaren had better top-end speed on the straights compared to Mercedes. And here we see now, with the exception of Ricciardo's accident, both of the McLarens would have been ahead of Russell. We just see that the McLarens have a better, more stable platform of which to race on. And so with that being said, you would then say that once the brakes are no longer an overheating issue, Norris has the better chance of not just winning a race, but finishing the season above Russell, which is disappointing for Russell, right? Because he wanted to come to Mercedes and he wanted to be fighting for wins. And here he is fighting in fifth. Now, this brings me to an interesting point. I didn't want to post this on Twitter because... anyways, let me read to you what I put in our chat, okay? Nico Rosberg, he was the teammate against Hamilton who won the championship in 2016, okay? Rosberg was asked to be a guest on the air. Rosberg is haunting Hamilton from the commentary box, trying to praise Russell and push public sentiment. Every time that Rosberg got on during this race, he would notice how they have the same car, how Hamilton was languishing in 14th and Russell was in 5th. And as you're probably aware, there's a huge falling out between Rosberg and Hamilton, and a lot of that comes down to politics. Who gets the team to surround them? And so Russell is clearly outperforming Hamilton. Remember how I told you guys in the season preview that I figured that a new car, a new driving style, a new platform, that Russell probably has a better time to adapt because he was in the Williams that wasn't driving so well last season. So Russell is going to get the team more and more surrounding him. And then once that happens, you got guys like Rosberg and others that are going to try to push sentiment towards Russell. There are two British drivers on Mercedes, and if Russell becomes the more popular British driver, then there's nothing really Hamilton's got over him at that point.
Okay, but let's talk about Russell real quick, okay?
Okay.
I know that he came to Mercedes with the hope of having the best car on the track, right? Or at least the top two. But he's been driving great and passing a lot of people to gain positions. And that's definitely, like, versus a Williams where you were just lucky if you were able to do really anything. I feel like if I was in that position, I would at least be happy that with my own skill, I'm able to take a car that might not be really great per se and actually still pass people, get in the 5th place, right? That's your skill making that happen, right? As opposed to a Williams where you're pretty much just at the mercy of, the other drivers around you.
Well, yeah, think about that. The only reason Williams has a point is because they did that crazy strategy last race. But here we now have Aston Martin who was able to get it to work, and now every single team this year has scored points. And so that goes to show that if Williams didn't do that bold strategy last week, they would be scoreless. Here's another fun fact. Only 2 drivers have not scored points this season. Can you name them?
Latifi?
Nope.
Latifi's he scored points?
No, you're right. Sorry, I messed up. Wait. Then that means they messed up the points at these standings because they definitely showed Latifi not on there. Oof. Yeah, Williams only has 1 point.
So it's Latifi and Stroll.
No, Stroll, he finished in 10th.
Oh. Latifi and Mick Schumacher.
Yeah, and okay, so I guess there's 3 of them because Hulkenberg, they count him. They did that guy dirty. He's a reserve, and they're going to keep him at 0 the rest of the season. But anyways, so they didn't even show the constructor standing graphics at the end of the season, at the end of the race broadcast. They tried to, and they kept taking it down, so they must have an error in there. But okay, CE says first non-Ferrari, non-Red Bull constructor. I would go on and say either Norris, Russell, or boldly Botos. I think Botos has it in him with reliability or mistakes. He might be able to fight for a podium. I really think so.
I agree.
If I was putting my money on anybody, though, I would definitely say Norris. it's hard to believe after the first week or two. Remember when we were all like, "Oh man, McLaren, man, wouldn't it be so great if they weren't horrible?" And now they're not horrible.
Like, I immediately sub Norris onto both my teams because I know his price is going to be jacking up, and I'm not trusting Alonso anymore the rest of this season.
And that's not even Alonso's fault, man. That's just...
Yeah, but you can't put a guy on the team that has DNF 3 out of 4 races. You really can't.
I'm keeping Sainz.
But
yeah.
But just think, isn't Botas cheaper than Alonso anyways?
Yeah, but Norris and Alonso are about the same price. Actually, Norris is a little bit more expensive. So, yes, if you pick up Norris instead of Alonso, then you need to have more budget. But like, I don't see any reason to drop Magnussen. Magnussen is doing top 10 at the cheapest value. So you're going to have Magnussen, right? And you're going to have Leclerc and probably Sainz and Perez, unless you really want to go Verstappen and Leclerc. I think if Verstappen... See, the problem is Verstappen is just a little too expensive, but now that we have a little bit more money, if we could continue day trade, maybe. It's just like one of the guys is going to want us to talk about this at the end, so I'll just save that discussion. But CE says, quick McLaren turnaround, great to see. I agree with the Alonso take. Too unreliable at the moment. If I were going with Alpine, definitely Ocon. Yep. In our Discord, if you haven't joined already, the link should be in the description below. They're talking about how Alpine's a boat, and if they're a boat, then Alonso's the Titanic. And then a guy put a link of an actual Alpine boat manufacturer online. I was like, well, I guess that's where we are at this point. Oh man, feel sorry for Alonso.
I think y'all doing Alonso dirty.
But the guy can't finish a race.
I mean, this race wasn't really even his fault.
Yeah, but it's like Verstappen busted twice and messed up my fantasy. I mean, my DRD league.
Yeah, the only way to get to the top is to not have DNFs. Every time you have a DNF, your chances of actually winning your league go down so much.
Go up.
Can
you imagine?
Fortunately, both of Verstappen's DNFs were during our DRD preseason.
True. He's probably going to become a wild card here soon.
Yeah, at least I got him on my team this time.
Oh, you had him on your team? Yeah. How did that happen?
The problem is I didn't trust him, so I put him on the court race instead
of
of the
King's race. Him on the court race. Yeah. Okay, actually, I'm
But I'm not sad on who I put in the King's race, which was Norris and Perez.
Really?
Wait, how do you have both Red Bulls?
Because I picked up.
Because Dominick, you drafted first, didn't you?
Yeah, remember I said I didn't want to?
But you got Sainz.
Oh, no, you drafted against Paola, right? Wait.
I went against Dad.
Oh, yeah, I think you got Sainz. You trusted Sainz because you didn't trust Verstappen, which I didn't blame you. But then I picked up Perez, and then I picked up Verstappen.
Yeah, I'm getting no points this week.
Okay, I know normally we talk about this like during the thing, but I'm curious. I'm curious. DRD teams. Okay, we're gonna go over to the spreadsheet real quick. Okay.
This might be the last thing we talk about before Game Center, though. Yeah.
Oh, oops. I didn't realize I had 2 of these open. Okay, let's come over here. Here we go. Okay, so let's go from draft to score. Yeah, Alonso did you dirty, Dad. Okay, so according to this, Dad scored 60 points with his King's race. Sorry, chat. Normally I don't have us this huge on this. I'll have to fix that for the next stream. Anyways, so yeah, Dad would have scored 60 in the King's race, and I also scored 60 in the King's race. Dad had Perez and Norris, and I had Verstappen and Norris. And this is why we do League DRD, because in League DRD, you have floors and ceilings. And so Dad and I both capped out at 60. That's the most you can ever score on a team is 60 points. And so Dad and I would have won the King's race, and then Dominick and Paola both won the court race. So at the end of the day, we're all tied. We're all tied.
Now.
For now. So
anyway, enough shameless plug.
Shameless plug. Okay, so Here we are. We're at minute 50. It's now time for questions. Okay, let's open up our questions.
Are we not doing the game center?
Oh, as a transition dad, you got the game set already?
Yep. So this one is called Odd One Out. And this is going to be part A. So I'll give you 3 numbers, and you tell which one is...
Hold on, chat. This is for you, chat. This is the preview of what we're going to do in the podcast. So all of you get your typing ready. We're going to be giving shout-outs, okay? Start over again, Dad. Tell them what they're doing.
So this is odd one out. You have to figure out, of the 3 numbers, which number is the odd one out. And then explain why. So this year's numbers, 7, 24, and 44.
7, 24, 44. And this is for this year or for this race?
This year.
This year. 7, 24, 44. Which one's the odd one out? Thanks, bro, for typing that chat so people could see that. Do they have to explain why?
Oh, they can. They don't have to.
Okay, chat. I guess at this point you just have to spam 2 numbers, and whoever gets it right first, we give a shout out to. The game center for chat.
Hold on. Is there any kind of hint as to what they should be looking for? I mean, the numbers themselves hopefully are pretty obvious, but
this one's actually pretty straightforward.
Should we give a hint that
CE says 24 is the odd number out. Is he right, Dad?
Not what I was thinking.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
Well, I guess other people can spam the chat until there's only 2 other numbers.
Well, since someone guessed, I will give a hint. Are they active?
It's about activity. I don't know. Like, I'm looking this up too now. Let's see.
Jankster says 44. Roca says 44 is odd one just because it's Hamilton.
Okay, let me ask this. Who is 7?
Okay, the clue is, which of these is the active racing number for this season? I mean, which one is not?
Which one is not?
Which one is not the active racing number this season?
I actually looked it up. I cannot believe I forgot who the correct number is. Yeah.
No. I knew the retired number. I forgot who number 24 was. Yep. See, he says
go.
7 then. Fabiola says 7. Kimi no longer is an active driver. Correct. Shout out to Fabiola, who not only got it right, but also told us why. Yep. Kimi. Now, here's the rule. You get your number for 2 years after you stop racing. So if he wanted to come back, he could.
Though. Don't forget about CE. CE says 7 then.
Yep. And Jankster says 7, no Kimi, heartbreak. Do you guys feel like, in my personal opinion, the sport hasn't actually changed losing Kimi? Because Kimi just kept himself, and yeah, he might be a little savage with some of the memes, but at the end of the day, like, Botos is doing the same thing Kimi would have done, right?
No.
Okay, hot take, bro. Would Kimi be placing higher than Botos in the Alpha right now, or would he be performing worse?
Well, if Kimi was there, I'm not even sure Botos would have moved. But
okay, I'm saying in the perfect world of seeing how Botos has done in the Alfa Romeo, how do you think Kimi would have been doing in the Alfa Romeo, better or worse?
Probably, I think Botos would have probably be doing better. But here's the thing. We're not talking about racing by itself, all right? Kimi was always clickbait, all right? Kimi was always clickbait. Right? You don't even have to have a good Formula One video on YouTube. As soon as you slap Kimi's face on it, you know your people are going to watch it anyway, all right? And we've lost that. There's no person on the track right now that really does that.
True. Okay, CE says Botas definitely would still be better in his opinion. Rokas says worse. And I would agree. The same reason why I said Russell would probably be better out the gate than Hamilton is the same reason why Botas would be better out the gate than Raikkonen. It's a new car, new handling, new design. Would Raikkonen want to put in the time, energy, and effort to be trying to do a brand new learning system? And so that's where probably Botas would be doing. Because I think people forgot how fast Botas was. He was rapid at Williams. He goes to Mercedes, outshined by Hamilton, but he often could outqualify Hamilton until about 2020? 2019? I don't remember. All I know is that Botas never got good luck at the races. So he never was able to build momentum. And this is not substantiated, but from what I heard from insiders, is the reason why Hamilton did so good at Mercedes is because Botas had better setups, and the team was sharing the setup data between both drivers. So Hamilton always got better over the course of a race weekend because he was able to benefit off of Botas's data and his setup, and then he would use it. Well, now that Botas is gone, Russell has a different driving style completely from Hamilton, and the setups are not working for Hamilton that Russell is using. And that's why Hamilton is not only slower, but also not able to unlock the new potential because he doesn't have somebody else's setup. And this is why it's so important to realize how teammates impact the racing of the car. Yes, bro.
Okay, hold on. Before we start answering questions, though, then I got one more question, though.
Yes.
Okay. I don't know what's the difference in points between Hamilton and Botas right now. Can you pull up that thing again? We can see what's their point differential.
Yeah. Let me pull that up. So you're wanting the driver standings?
My question is, and chat, you can get in on this if you want. Is do you think that Botas will end the season with more points than Hamilton?
Hamilton currently has 28 points and Botas has 24.
Oh my!
That face.
That was way closer than I was thinking.
Okay, so Hamilton has more points by 4. So back to your question, chat and Dominic. Who's going to finish the season with more points? I think Mercedes has a greater ceiling because we see how well Russell's performing, right? So that would say that Hamilton should definitely score more points. But if he's not able to unlock the potential of his car, then you're going to have Botas who's going to, steadily pick up more and more points. What do you think, Dad?
My heart says go with Botas. My brain says go with Hamilton.
Okay, chat. What do you think? Botas or Hamilton? More championship points at the end of the season.
I do have one.
Yeah?
I do have one more question before we go.
Oh, part 2. Okay, let's get chat's reaction first. Yeah, Roca says probably Hamilton. Yeah, it's probably.
Boo.
Well, look, here's the thing. Until Alfa Romeo gets their own engine, there's no way they can ever beat Mercedes as a works team. It's the sad reality of F1. One of the commentators pointed out that Alfa Romeo and Haas don't even get the most recent spec of Ferrari engine. They're getting the older version of Ferrari's engine. So that's why they were so terrible last season. Not only were they saving the whole season, they also didn't even have the best engine. So until you get your own engine that you can guarantee is the best on the edge technologically, there's no way you're going to be able to outperform a works team. Alpine is sad because they have their own engine, but they don't have good enough aerodynamics package to make a difference. Anyways. Okay, now to part 2, Dad. Get ready, chat.
Second one, these are constructors, and this is about last year's constructors with their drivers. Odd one out, Alfa Romeo, Ferrari, and Mercedes.
So, chat, odd one out. Based off of last year's constructors, read it again. Dominic, type it in chat.
Alfa Romeo, Ferrari, Mercedes.
Which one's the odd one out?
And the hint is consider their drivers.
Okay, so you're considering the drivers. Which one is the odd one out? Ammo says L plan Sag. Dad, this is what we're doing on Monday?
Isn't this exciting?
This sounds odd.
This is gonna be rough, dude.
We have no context for these. Alfa Romeo, Ferrari, Mercedes. Which one's the odd one out, chat? This is based off of last year's constructors and drivers. Roca says Alfa Romeo?
Nope.
Nope, Dad says. Okay, there's
Well,
two more
give
chats.
her a
Okay,
right.
so he
y'all,
says
y'all have a 50-50 chance of being right now.
type
guys
fast,
are
fast, type fast. Type fast.
They can give
Type
a reason
fast.
I might not have thought of, but the one I'm thinking about, I'll.
Okay,
Sure.
Fabiola says Ferrari. They were the only ones to keep the same drivers.
That might be the answer. I mean, that's the right answer, but that's not the reason I was thinking.
Okay, so it is Ferrari. Okay, shout out to you,
Ferrari.
Fabiola. It is Ferrari. Now, chat, why is it Ferrari? We're based off of drivers. Okay, let's think. We had 16 and 55. We had Alfa Romeo, which was 7 and 99, and the Mercedes was 77 and 44. We had two drivers, a Monegasque and a Spaniard. We had a Finnish driver and an Italian, and we had a British
Did an
and a...
Alfa Romeo win last year?
Oh, is it because the drivers didn't have a Finnish driver on their team?
Ferrari did not have a Finnish driver.
Got it. Sorry, Chad. I should have let you guys do it. Sorry. I should have let you do it. Okay, so, man, these are going to be hard, Dad. These are random.
Yeah,
You're
well,
gonna have to tone it down for us.
we'll consider how you guys can help each other.
True. Well,
If it's
the
more
last two game centers, what Dad did was brilliant. He started off with fairly easy, but he made the tiebreakers just savagely like intense. And so everybody in the comments was like, "Man, those tiebreaks are insane!" Like, so it's good. You're ramping up the tension and the power and the difficulty. So, well, thank you everyone for participating in our game center. Okay, Yassir says Jean looks exactly like my English teacher. Well, there you go. Now on to the questions. I think we have 3 questions so far. Dominick, did you write them down or keep track of them?
I got them.
Okay, good.
All right, here we go. So we actually only have 5, so we're just gonna do all these real quick. So
Sure.
Rokas, hopefully I'm saying your name some way that's not horrible. Hey, what are your thoughts about McLaren as a constructor for Miami and fitting as many streaking drivers as possible?
Okay, so the idea is go on a cheaper constructor to fit as many street drivers as possible. Okay, Dad, maybe you'll agree with me, but unless McLaren shows that they're going to be Red Bull, they only scored 44 points. Now, of course, that's because Ricciardo was outside the points, but with Red Bull to score 99, which is pretty much over double, there's really no reason to go with McLaren, in my opinion, right? Either Ferrari's going to get back together and score a lot of points, and then that means McLaren can't get it, or Red Bull, you just go with Red Bull. They're more expensive, but Red Bull and Ferrari should, barring accident, outscore McLaren's. What are your thoughts, Dad?
I agree with that. How many drivers actually have both a race and a quality streak?
Let's pull that up right now. Let's go to the fantasy because that's the other problem. Verstappen isn't up for anything because he had 2 DNFs, right? Well, he might be up for a quality streak, but that's only plus 5 points. That's the thing. Okay, if you have 5 drivers that have plus 5 points, it's only 20 points, which means that is your constructor going to outscore the other constructor by 20 points? Probably not, unless there's a crash or something. But let's look at the drivers. We'll come over to the web. We'll transition it over. And let's see, drivers. Let's go by... let's just do name. Ascending, descending. Okay, here we go. So Albon, if they have a flame, then that means that they are good. Let's zoom in. Can
we talk about how cool that looks, though?
Yeah. So Albon, no. Fernando Alonso, plus 5 for a quality streak. Not a good choice. Charles Leclerc. Okay, he is for a power streak. That's plus 15 points. So if you want to use a Mega Driver, the 2 ideas is you either Mega Drive Leclerc next race so you can get 15 times 3, which is 45 points, or you keep turboing Leclerc and then Mega Drive Verstappen. The problem is Verstappen's not up for a power streak. So it'd probably here's the problem. If you Mega Drive Leclerc, you can't turbo Verstappen. He's too expensive because he's over 20 million. But yeah, Leclerc's up for a power streak. Perez is up for a quality streak, which is plus 5. George Russell's up for a race streak, which is plus 10. Sainz is up for a quality streak, +5. Verstappen's up for a quality streak, +5. Yeah, there's just not enough drivers that are actually going to benefit switching out a constructor, right? That's only +5. And the only person that can get you a +10 is Russell, and Leclerc can get you a power streak of +15. So I think that's really tough. Let's look at constructors. McLaren could get you a +5 for a quality streak. So McLaren, if you wanted to go with that, then maybe you could get +5 points there, and then that might make it a little bit sweetening of the deal. But what are your thoughts, Dad and Dominick?
Yeah, if you're trying to stock up on streaks, doesn't seem like there's. I already have the 2 drivers that have the streaks, so I don't really need to fidget around with my lineup.
True.
If you had 2 or 3 that had power streaks, I'd go for it maybe.
Yeah, because that's 45 points.
45 points, but with them not them having one or the other and not, I wouldn't do it. Or
unless it looks like one of the constructors is suddenly going to break down, right? But in a perfect world, Ferrari and Red Bull are going to score more points than McLaren.
Now, I do have that team that I'm doing that strategy with, and so far every race they've underscored my Haas with the other. But I think I'd be interested to compare that. So since you brought that up, I'd probably use on my third team.
Try to line up as many streaks and put them.
I'll do that strategy and just see how it goes.
Okay, sure. Roca says, so I have Leclerc, Perez, Russell, Norris, and Botas at the moment with McLaren for Miami. Is Leclerc, who's for a power streak, Perez for a quality streak, Russ for a race streak, Norris just because, and then Botas. So that'll be interesting. That will be interesting indeed. Okay, Dominick, up to the other questions.
All right, next question. Everyone going to drop signs for Lando before this price change?
You better.
And again, the thing is, I already have both. So
then you'll be fine.
Yeah, I was like, I'm not going to.
If I had one less substitution, I would not have subbed Norris out for Alonso on my first team. Anyways, whatever.
Just for people's information, I tried to before they locked, I was going to unjoin my Alpha team and put in my Delta team into the one race challenge. But apparently, once you select who you're going to put in that league, you can't change it. So had I selected Delta from the beginning, I could have put in Delta. But I couldn't switch out even though it hadn't locked for qualifying yet.
Okay, I did not know that. Okay, so in the one race challenge, whatever team you select is what gets set in. I know there's a feature that lets you to join and unjoin, but that's fascinating. Okay, Dominick, next question.
All right. It better to use the Mega on a straight up track where the 1-2 is pretty much obvious.
Who asked that one?
Janksta.
So Janksta asked about using Mega Driver. Like, I know I did something foolish because I thought the Ferraris were just so much better than the Red Bulls in the wet, and that bit me. It is much better and safer to use your Mega Driver on a power streak. Just historically, it's much better to use it on a power streak. If you can get a power streak to line up with a sprint race, then that would be good too. But last season, both times that happened, Verstappen crashed out. Anyways, and so yes, if you're wanting to think about mega driving Leclerc, then yes, you want to do it. But the problem is, who do you then turbo? If you're going to mega drive Leclerc, who do you turbo? Sainz seems to be making mistakes or getting tagged. So then do you trust Perez or Russell as your turbo, right? So you would have to keep that in mind. Most people are going to want to get Verstappen on there and then just mega drive Verstappen, but you're going to get 45 more points by mega driving Leclerc, right? But then you can't turbo Verstappen. It's really tough. It's really tricky. If Verstappen had his power streak and not those DNFs, boom, it would have been easy. Mega drive Verstappen, turbo Leclerc. Okay, so Jankster, this is a real quick question. He says, how do I access all the channels? I can only view the pit entry channels. Okay, so what you do is you read the rules, and at the bottom of the rules, there should be a way for you to react. And when you react to that role, then it'll auto-assign you the role. So if you haven't taken the time to read the rules, then that's probably why you haven't seen it. If it doesn't work for you, like sometimes it doesn't, just DM me or one of the mods, and then we'll assign you your role.
All right. JG has 2 questions. Says, fantasy question for the end. Do the points differ when playing Mega Driver Verstappen plus Turbo Leclerc versus Mega Driver Leclerc plus TD Perez/Sainz? Also, assuming if you're going to have to read that one yourself. Just find JG.
So what he's saying is it better to have the more expensive drivers but have lower tier supporting cast, or leaving Verstappen off the team and trying to Mega Drive Leclerc but then having to turbo one of the other drivers but have a higher supporting cast?
So my comment on that is this week I Mega Leclerc on one of my 3 teams and put Sainz in as a turbo. Didn't work too well for me. Had I maybe made Perez the turbo, but still I Mega Drived Leclerc and he didn't do so hot.
And so this is a learning lesson for me. As much as you might think rain races could be a performance, there's just too many unpredictables. In fantasy, if you're wanting to win your league, you want consistent stats. So you really don't want to put high price thingies on a gamble. At the end of the day, rain races and sprints are gambles. You want to do it on things that are lower risk. A power streak is a lower risk. You just have to qualify in the top 10. You just have to finish in the top 10 plus 15 points. Of course, you want also to maximize your points. You want your driver to win. But at the end of the day, you want the safest option for your statistics.
So I would say if you can't trust or you can't afford Verstappen, then Leclerc, that could be a potential option. I just didn't do it on my Orc Elite because in the Orc Elite, even if I Mega Drived Leclerc, then I didn't get his points for turboing him. So normally you would get a turbo, but in Orc Elite you don't take in consideration, and that make the lesser supporter driver be the turbo. And so I was concerned that I'd get less points on the Orc Elite. I mean, sorry, not the Orc Elite, or the Orc race, the 1 race challenge.
Yeah, you're gonna have to let the 1 race challenge slide for a week if you're gonna do the Mega Driver, probably. Just a little bit. Right.
Well, what I'm planning on doing is waiting until I can afford Verstappen on my team, and then it doesn't matter if I Mega Drive him because I can't turbo him.
All right, so here's our final question. Second question for the end. What normally drives a performance drop? I.e., are we expecting it for Sainz and Alonso?
Alonso for sure. Sainz probably not. Here's the other problem. Because of the hacker or alleged hacker situation, PlayOn froze a bunch of stuff, and so we may not even get a performance drop again. They might just unfreeze it, and then everybody goes live again with Sentiment. This season has been very unusual because performance and Sentiment, we haven't had it for half the races. Anyways. Okay, Roca says, did the match, so if I Mega Drive Leclerc for next race and have the streaking drivers, it's extra 70 points. Oh, he did the math, excuse me. The streak drivers, it's an extra 70 points, assuming everyone does well, which is very, let's say, optimistic. Yes.
I was optimistic this race.
I was optimistic this race too. Anyways. Well, thank you, Dad, Dominic, and all of you in chat for joining us. We enjoy this opportunity to have the live cast, and I hope you guys have a great week. Miami is coming. Brand new circuit, brand new venue, brand new track surface, and then we're going to see who shows up and who is able to perform the best on this American soil track. And until next time, we'll see you on the pit wall.